ever feel like you've got a decent grasp of English? You can read, maybe understand movies okay, but then actually opening your mouth to speak, it just feels like something's missing, like the words aren't quite there.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really, really common sticking point for learners. It really highlights that gap that often pops up between understanding something passively and actually, you know, producing it yourself.
Well, today we're sort of tackling that head on. We've spent some time looking through the Master English Speaking in 30 Days challenge material.
Right?
And our goal really is to pull out the key strategies, the really effective bits to help you speak more smoothly, more confidently.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not planning a full 30-day thing right now, think of this as maybe your shortcut guide to boosting those speaking skills.
Exactly. We're not just summarizing, we're trying to distill the core actions, the principles behind them.
Yeah.
And the challenge itself, it quite wisely breaks the journey down. First, building that foundation, then dealing with the confidence side and the psychology, and then finally working on that natural flow of speech.
Okay, right. Let's dive into that foundation then. So the first, 5 days, they focus on vocabulary and pronunciation. Now, this isn't about trying to swallow a dictionary whole, is it? Because that sounds pretty daunting.
No, not at all, thankfully. The emphasis is really on quality over quantity. And this really lines up with, what we know works best for language learning.
Okay.
The challenge rightly highlights focusing on high-frequency vocabulary. Basically, the words that make up the backbone of everyday chat.
Right.
Well, words like always, usually, need, want, think. Those really common ones.
Gotcha. The real workhorse words you hear constantly.
Exactly.
And the challenge says don't just learn the words, but actually use them in full sentences, out loud. How does that active part really help?
Well, it's about moving that word from just something you recognize into your active toolkit, basically. Right. So by actually building sentences, like, say, I always wake up early or I usually drink coffee, you're making your brain really engage with it in context and speaking it out loud. That builds the kind of the muscle memory you need in your mouth, your vocal cords. It connects the brain to the action.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? It's that active recall bit. And hey, if you're listening, maybe try saying those examples out loud with us now. I always wake up early. I usually drink coffee. Get your vocal cords warmed up.
Good idea.
Now, pronunciation. That can feel like a huge hurdle. What's the challenge's core advice for tackling that early on?
I think the key insight really is that clarity is the goal, not like flawless native speaker perfection.
Okay. Being understood.
Exactly. Being understood. The material smartly points out some common pronunciation stumbling blocks for learners. Things like the th sound, the difference between short I as in sit and long E as in seat. And of course, the R sound can be tricky too.
Yes, the classic difficult sounds for so many people. So what strategies does it actually suggest for improving those?
It really comes down to focused, conscious practice. So listen carefully to how native speakers make those sounds. Pay attention to the physical side of it.
Physical side? Like how?
Well, for voiced sounds like the in this or that, you should actually feel a little vibration in your throat if you're getting it right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And using a mirror can help too, just to see what your mouth and tongue are doing.
That awareness of the mechanics is a really useful tip. And what about daily exercises? What does the challenge recommend for these first few days?
Okay, so a key exercise is picking, say, 5 common English sentences each day.
Right.
First, say them slowly. Really concentrate on each sound. Then try saying them again, a bit faster, but try to keep that clarity and a natural rhythm. And here's the crucial part. Record yourself saying them.
The dreaded recording. I know, but it's so helpful. Listen back objectively if you can, and then repeat them again, focusing on anywhere you want to improve. Simple sentences work great, like I need to go now, or she likes reading books. Things like that.
Simple, yeah, but probably really effective for drilling those basic sounds and rhythms. And I noticed a clever tip about thinking in English during your daily routine. How does that fit in here?
That's all about creating a sort of mental immersion, even when you're just pottering around.
Okay.
So as you're doing things, making breakfast, getting dressed, try to mentally label your actions, the objects around you. In English, I am pouring coffee. This is my blue shirt.
Right.
It starts building that direct link between the idea and the English word, hopefully bypassing that extra step of translating in your head.
Okay, so summing up days 1 to 5.
Yeah.
The mission is basically learn and use those key everyday words. Focus consciously on clear pronunciation for tricky sounds. Practice short sentences about your world. Get used to hearing yourself via recording and repeat with intention. It's really about building that solid base, isn't it? Precisely. Like building anything, you need a strong, reliable foundation first.
Okay, foundation laid, or at least started. Then the challenge shifts gears, days 6 through 10, to something that honestly trips up so many learners. Confidence. What's the main idea here?
Yeah, this is huge. The core idea is to tackle, like head on, those very real fears. Fear of mistakes, fear of sounding wrong, fear of being judged.
Very real fears.
Totally. And the challenge rightly reassures you that these feelings are completely normal. Even, really confident speakers felt that awkwardness at the start.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, the key difference, as the material points out, is that confident speakers just kept going despite the fear. They persisted.
That's such an important point. It's easy to feel alone when you're fumbling with words. The challenge actually says speaking a new language involves bravery. Why is seeing it that way so important?
Well, it reframes the whole act. Instead of seeing speaking as a test you might fail, you see it as an act of boldness. You're stepping outside your comfort zone, using a whole new way to express yourself. That takes courage. And just recognizing that, acknowledging your own bravery, can be the first step to building up that confidence muscle.
I like that confidence muscle, and it gives specific techniques too, right? What about this mirror speaking thing?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Basically, you stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eye, and repeat an affirmation. The suggested one is, I am learning, I am improving, I am not afraid.
Does that feel a bit weird?
It might at first, but the idea is to create this strong link between your thoughts, your words, and your kind of physical presence. You're reinforcing a positive image of yourself as an English speaker. It can help sort of desensitize you to the act of speaking, make it feel less scary.
I can see how the physical act of saying it could be powerful. What about the self-talk in English? We touched on that for foundation. How does it help confidence?
It works on a similar principle, providing a really low-stakes practice zone.
Right, no one's listening.
Exactly.
Right.
So by mentally narrating your day or your thoughts in English, okay, what should I wear today? Right now I need to brush my teeth. You're actively using the language, forming sentences, thinking in English, but without any pressure or fear of judgment. It's like having a constant, safe practice space in your head.
Your own private language lab. And the challenge really pushes you to speak now, right? Even if your English feels, broken or imperfect, why is acting now so crucial?
Because every single time you actually speak, even a tiny bit, every mistake you make and hopefully learn from, it chips away at that fear.
Oh, okay.
Waiting until you feel perfect can just become this endless procrastination, this avoidance tactic. By speaking now, even imperfectly, you prove to yourself that you can communicate and that those fears don't actually have to stop you.
Makes sense. And the daily recording exercise, that continues in this phase too, but the focus changes slightly.
Yes, exactly. Instead of just repeating sentences for pronunciation, the prompt here is more about speaking freely for, say, 1 minute about your day. The challenge suggests simple starters, like, today I woke up at whatever time. I felt happy, tired, whatever. I ate. You get the idea.
Yeah.
It encourages you to start expressing your own thoughts, your own experiences in English, however simply. The focus shifts towards just getting comfortable vocalizing your personal narrative.
And that links to the last point for this section, encouraging you to start telling your own story in English. What's the thinking behind that?
It just makes the language more personal, more meaningful. When you share something about yourself, even just, "Hi, my name is A.B. Cree. I live in A," it shifts the focus away from just getting grammar right towards genuine communication.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you find your own voice in English, connects with it on a deeper level, rather than just seeing it as an academic subject.
Okay, so the mission for days 6 to 10 is really all about doing. Speak every day to the mirror, to yourself, into your phone recorder. Start acting like the confident speaker you want to become. It's about action over anxiety.
That's a great way to put it. Confidence in speaking, just like confidence anywhere else, isn't something you just wait for. It's built actively through practice and, crucially, being okay with not being perfect right away. That's just part of learning.
Right. Okay, so we've got a foundation. We're working on the confidence muscle. Now we hit days 11 through 15, focusing on sentence flow and fluency. How does the challenge define fluency here? Is it just about speed?
No, not just speed, although that might come eventually. The challenge defines fluency more as speaking smoothly with a natural rhythm, without lots of awkward pauses while you search for words.
Okay.
It's that feeling of your thoughts turning into spoken English in a more kind of seamless, connected way.
Got it. And it highlights 4 key areas to work on for this flow. What are those?
Yeah, the 4 areas are expanding your basic sentences, using linking words effectively, really pushing yourself to think directly in English, and practicing something called shadowing.
Okay, let's break those down. Expanding sentences. How does making sentences longer help fluency?
Well, it helps you move beyond really simple, maybe slightly abrupt or choppy sentences towards expressing more complete, nuanced ideas.
Right.
The challenge gives a good example. Starting with something basic like, "I eat breakfast." Then you
Great.
build on it. "I usually eat breakfast." Add more detail. "I usually eat a light breakfast at 7 a.m. Add context. "In my kitchen before I get ready and leave for work."
Ah, I see. You're adding layers.
Exactly. By deliberately practicing that kind of expansion, you train your brain to think, and therefore speak, in longer, more connected chunks of language.
So it feels less like telegraphing and more like talking. Oh, okay. What about linking words? And, but, because, so.
These little words are absolutely crucial. They're like the glue that holds your ideas together smoothly.
Linguistic glue.
Yeah, they let you combine shorter thoughts into longer, more flowing sentences. So instead of saying, "I wanted to go for a walk, it started raining," which is fine, but a bit abrupt, you use a connector. "I wanted to go for a walk, but it started raining."
Right, much smoother.
It creates that logical connection and makes your speech sound less fragmented, more natural.
They really are vital, aren't they? Okay, third point. Thinking in English. We mentioned this before for the foundation, but how does it specifically boost fluency?
It really speeds things up. When you consistently think directly in English, you start to cut out that middle step, the mental translation from your native language.
Which takes time and mental energy.
Exactly. The challenge reinforces this by suggesting you consciously try to label things around you, and even your own thoughts, directly in English. So you just think, "Where's the bathroom?" instead of thinking it in your language first and then translating. This direct processing makes a huge difference to how quickly and smoothly you can form sentences when you speak.
It's about making that direct connection concept to English. Okay, and the last one, shadowing. This sounds intriguing. How does shadowing work?
Shadowing is basically active mimicry. You listen to a sentence or a short bit of English, audio could be from anything, a podcast, news,
Right.
and you repeat it aloud immediately after hearing it, trying to copy everything, the rhythm, the intonation, the stress patterns, the speed, even the emotion if you can hear it.
So you're like an echo.
Pretty much. The
Yeah.
challenge gives an example like hearing, I don't really like coffee, but I drink it anyway. You just say it right back, trying to sound exactly the same.
Okay.
The goal isn't necessarily perfect pronunciation of every single sound, but more about catching the overall flow, the music of the language. It trains your mouth and brain to sync up with those natural English speech patterns.
So you're copying the how as much as the what. What kind of daily routine does the challenge suggest for this fluency focus, days 11 to 15?
It recommends combining these elements. So consciously practice expanding some short sentences each day. Actively try to use linking words when you speak or write. Do maybe 5 minutes of shadowing with some audio you choose.
Keep up that self-talk in English habit throughout the day, and then record a slightly longer speaking sample, maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Perhaps talk about what you did yesterday, using a prompt like yesterday was. I did.
Got it. So the big message for fluency seems to be actively connect your ideas with linking words, build longer sentences, train your brain to think directly in English and kind of absorb the natural rhythm by shadowing. It's less about memorizing rules, more about flow and connection.
Exactly that. It's about developing those pathways that let your speech just, well, flow more easily and naturally.
So we've covered the first half, the first 15 days of this 30-day challenge. We've looked at building that foundation vocab, pronunciation, then tackling the confidence barriers, and finally working on sentence flow and fluency. For our listeners, maybe someone who isn't quite ready for the full 30-day commitment right now, what are maybe one or two key things they could pull out and start doing, like today? Oh, definitely. Even without the whole structure, you can absolutely adopt that quality over quantity idea for vocabulary. Focus on useful words. Use them in sentences. That's huge.
Right.
You could start doing just short bursts of pronunciation practice on sounds you find tricky, even just 5 minutes.
Okay.
And those confidence techniques, mirror speaking, self-talk, super easy to slip into your daily routine. Doesn't take much time.
True.
And even just consciously trying to expand a few sentences when you speak or throwing in a few more linking words like because or so, that can start making a difference to your fluency pretty quickly.
So it's really about picking these core ideas and weaving them into whatever English practice you're already doing. It makes improving your speaking feel a bit less like climbing a giant mountain, doesn't it? More manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about some magic bullet for instant perfection. It's about consistent, focused effort in the right areas. Every little bit really does add up over time.
This deep dive into just the first half of the challenge has definitely given us some really practical, actionable stuff. It really drives home that idea that getting better at speaking English isn't some big secret, is it? It's more about consistent work on these key building blocks.
Exactly.
It does make you think, though. Which of these foundational techniques could actually make the biggest difference for you right now in your speaking? And maybe even, what would your own mini speaking goals look like, even if it's not a full 30 days? Definitely something to mull over.